Well, hello there. In this video recording, I'm going to be showing you how you can use the absolutely free PTO or leave tracker template that is currently available on the Vacation Tracker website. In this particular video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Google Sheets version, but if you prefer using Excel, I'll also be sure to link that in the description for you. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do once you get access is actually create your own copy, as the current version is a view only, and that's only there just because we don't want you to enter your information by accident and then everyone can see it. So I'm just going to name mine Company ABZ. Once this loads, you'll be taken to a version where you can actually edit. Before I start entering any information, I do briefly want to go through each tab so you have a better understanding of how to use this template, as well as point out another few key things that are going to be important. Starting with this first tab, which is called the Info tab, is your very basic spreadsheet where you can just enter your employee names, as well as their respective hire date to keep track of such things. You can also choose to add more things such as team. For example, if they're part of a sales team or IT, again, just to keep things more organized, but don't feel like you need to use this. The next 12 tabs at the bottom are each of the months of the year, starting with January all the way to December. And for each month, you'll have a section to enter all your employee names, and then the month will be broken down by weeks and then by days. For the total of the month, there's a cumulative total at the end here in this column, which will keep track of the cumulative paid time off that has been taken. To the right of the monthly totals column, you'll see this legend here that has absence type as well as a corresponding letter code. This legend appears on every month you see down below, and this is how we're going to keep track of paid time off at the organization. The idea here is that whenever an employee takes some kind of leave, you'll enter that letter code onto the chart here, and then calculate the totals and eventually bring that into the yearly totals. Now, do keep in mind that what we put here is just some default examples, but you'll need to customize this based on your needs. For example, maybe you like to keep track of when employees are doing remote work. So you'll enter the term remote work here, or whatever name you call it, choose a letter code, and then now when they are remotely working, you can enter that onto the chart. The last thing I want to show you before we start going through some examples is the yearly totals tab, which, as the name implies, will keep track of the yearly paid time off taken for your employees. It has once again been broken down to this non-deductible and deductible sections, but feel free to remove those and you can just completely combine the whole thing. Again, the sheet is yours to do with as you see fit. Now that we have a basic understanding of how to use this template, let's go through some examples so you can truly see in action and how easy it is to use. But first things first, I'm actually going to copy over the list of employees I had already pre-generated into this yearly totals, because that's going to come in handy afterwards. Now let's pick a month at random. How about November? And let's add in a few extra policies that are pretty common at organizations. So we'll go with birthday, remote work, as I mentioned before. I'm going to call that R. And for fun, let's add in jury duty, because sometimes that does happen to employees. And J. Now, this is very easy. Once an employee requests the leave, you just make sure you enter that letter code if the leave is approved, and then we'll calculate the totals. So let's say, for example, Christopher Lee here wants to take a long weekend, and he's eyeballing the 15th and 18th of November. So if it's approved, and it's coming out of the paid time off policy, we're going to put the letter P. Now, what's important is that we make sure we keep track of the cumulative total of requests. So I'm no Excel wizard, I'm not going to use formulas, and I'll keep this very straightforward. I know that there's 2, so I want to make sure for the absences for this month, I'm going to put 2. Let's say now we have Lily, who wants to take a whole week off at the end of the month. So once again, sticking with paid time off, which is the global policy that we have, she's taking 5 days, and then we're going to enter 5. Now it's just a simple matter of rinsing and repeating this process whenever you get any sort of employee leave request. If we take a closer look at the December tab, you'll notice that I've already pre-populated it with a few extra examples. The reason being is because I want to show how even a very simple Google Sheets formula can make your life a whole heck of a lot easier. Take Priya over here, who had 5 days of jury duty. Sure, we can note this down as 5. We can also highlight the cells to get the count as 5. But what's going to be even more advantageous is using something like this, a very simple count if formula. This formula basically counts the number of cells that are not empty in the given range, and it'll automatically update the values depending on if it changes. So for example, if the jury duty was actually longer or even shorter, the total here will automatically update, thus reducing a lot of potential human error. Don't feel like you need to use this formula. If you're comfortable sticking with manual entry, that's totally fine. I just thought I would share it in case you found it useful. Now let's return back to the yearly totals tab, where we will be able to calculate the total amount of PTO that has been taken, as well as how much is remaining for each individual employee. To start, we will need to enter how much PTO each employee has, and in my case, since I'm using a made-up example, I'm going to stick with 20 across the board. I'm also going to assume that this 20 is going to encapsulate all the different types of leave we've spoken about, whether that's remote work, jury duty, sick leave, etc. It's going to come from this bank. Obviously, this is not a real policy and it won't match what you have, so do be sure to enter the correct amounts. Now, in order to calculate how much is remaining, we're just going to use a very simple subtraction formula. As you can see here, Google Array suggested, it's just going to subtract the amount of days taken from the total PTO days. So we just need to drag and drop that. And I'm going to go one step further and also format my cells as well. Now, in order to get the total amount of PTO taken for each employee, we just need to add up the total amount that's been taken for each month. So if we stick with the example of Priya again, it's as simple as saying equals, going to that specific month and finding the particular row that lines up with that employee. So you can see Priya is row 13. So for January, we have row AG13 for Priya, or cell AG13, excuse me. Then we're going to add that up with all the other totals for the month. I'm going to skip ahead as I do not want to go through each month one by one, but you will need to do so just for the sake of time here. So we're not going to be watching me click each month. And once we do that, we're gonna hit enter, and you'll see here, Priya has taken a total of 6 days across the entire year, which leaves her with 14. And that should just about cover the basics to using this spreadsheet to tracking PTO at your organization. But if you do get stuck, or if you have questions, you could leave them right down below in the comments and we will respond to them as soon as possible. Or if you feel like doing away with spreadsheets entirely and automating the whole leave management process, I do highly recommend checking out Vacation Tracker, as we have a free 7-day trial that doesn't include a credit card or doesn't ask you to sign a contract, and you can check out the solution for yourself and see if it's worth it. Have a good one.